Here we go. So, we're going to do a quick garden tour now. We've had a lot of rain over the last 2 weeks or so it's very wet around, even currently super overcast, and it was raining this morning. But I thought through the break of rain, let me quickly do this garden tour. It's long overdue. And this is what the garden currently looks like. That's the whole background that way. A few different projects we have going on at the moment, but predominantly just to have a look at some of the vegetables now. Initially we have this garden bed here behind me. There is some leeks and onions and red onions here. It was built out of two sort of sleeper logs that I got from a friend, and then I just fixed it up with some pallet wood at the end there. And yeah, we got some, like I said, leeks and onions and things growing in there. Then on this side here we have two old bookshelves that we used to have in the office that started sort of breaking away a little bit, and we didn't like them too much anymore, so we brought them out here. I'm fully aware that they are not going to last a prolonged period of time, but they have held quite a lot of veggies. Small things like, for example, over here we have lychees. My wife and I, Sylvia and I, were eating lychees in the office, and then as we came out, I just decided to throw all the pips and things in an empty piece of this garden bed, and now we have a good few sproutlings over there from lychee trees. So I'll plant them out into pots at some point and see what happens. This here brinjal plant, it was at the bottom of a Hugo culture we had over there, and then when we filled that up, I moved it this side, and it actually has managed to survive, which is fantastic. We had some spinach in there, harvested the spinach for the last 4 months or so, and they started getting less and less firm and sweet, so gave the last little bit of the spinach with all the roots to the chickens, and we're letting this rest for a little bit, and we'll plant some more things in there. I've thrown the odd cherry tomato in there. You can see here some sproutlings, so I'm not fully sure what those are as of yet, but we'll, I guess, see in a few weeks time. We have garlic over here, probably 7 or 8 different garlic plants that are busy doing their things. And then these here are all eggplants, brinjals. We got a couple of nice ones through the back there. If you can see here, there's a couple of nice big ones. And then we have a few pepper plants at the back there, but they have been sort of overpowered by tomatoes and eggplants. And then this is the tomato plants. I'm just trying to direct them towards one side. The idea is to let them grow wild instead of keep them perfectly pruned and in structure. And there's an abundance of tomatoes. There are so many. They are everywhere. And I'm struggling to keep it under control. It's just sort of taking over everything. I'm trying to let it rest up against that trellis and see what happens there. I built this thing here out of pallet wood all the way down as well, and just put bricks at the back so I could block the soil from going out. We're trying to grow some grenadillas there. There's some beans, there's cucumbers, and here we have jam tomatoes. These were one of the first plants that we planted, the jam tomato plants. The plant died and went away, and then came back, and now we got some nice tomatoes growing on there as well. I actually ideally wanted to remove this tire already, but the tomatoes started growing, and I just decided we're going to leave them. They don't look like they're doing too good though, so I'm not sure. Maybe chicken food, but something nonetheless. Here we have a tamarillo tree. There used to be a tire here with spinach in it as well. I removed that recently. We put the tamarillo tree there, and then we have a yesterday, today, and tomorrow over here. Also just sort of a temporary spot in the tire for it. We want to move this one upstairs next to the pool, and then probably put, unsure, something between these two trees to sort of connect them. And then here's a tamarillo tree as well that looks incredibly sad. That tamarillo tree was standing over there in a crazy amount of water over the last 2 weeks, so it's not doing too good. But hopefully propping it up off of the ground a little bit will help the shallow roots not die so much. So that's that side. And then here we have these are the two newest garden beds. I took 0.3 millimeter zinc sheets and put pallet wood 30 centimeters down and planted that, and that's how we got this as an outcome. Moving forward, I'd probably like to use 0.5 millimeter zinc sheets. These ones have buckled a little bit. I don't know if one can see it on the video. Let me try to get to the end here, and then we can have a look. If you can see it like that, how they've buckled out a little bit. So that's been a little bit of a concern. I don't know how long they are going to last, but I think they're just too thin to hold all the soil. So as soon as one gets thicker sheets, they won't buckle anymore. So that's the plan. I want to do 4 or 5 more of them going that way. They're currently about 7.5 by 1.5, 2 meters, so they're sizable garden beds. But I'll do another 4 or 5 of them going that way, but then definitely with thicker sheets. And if those thicker sheets hold up nicely, then at some point I'll probably replace these ones with the thicker sheets as well. Here we have purple cauliflower, we got broccoli, we got some spinach all the way down. And then here's some lettuce that started. We got lettuce over there. We got a few more tomatoes, 3 different varieties of tomatoes growing here. I want to put these in sort of box cages so they can grow up, because if they end up like that, then none of this other stuff stands a chance. Because these were initially three tomato plants, 3 small cherry tomato plants, and it's just, I think it's been about 3-4 months, and they've just taken over, and we eat so many tomatoes off of here. There's constantly tomatoes. For the most part, the tomatoes are actually just ending up on the ground, which I think they'll just continue to reseed themselves, and I give a whole bunch of the overripe tomatoes to the chickens. So at this point, just with these 3, probably too many cherry tomatoes for us to consume ourselves, which has been fantastic. But yeah, the more the merrier. And then on this side here we have some gem squashes all the way along here, gem squashes, pumpkins, that sort of thing. Here's some more king brinjal plants, so these are going to get nice and big. Here's more gem squashes. The idea with these ones is planting them on the edge. They need a drape over, and then hopefully the stuff can grow here on the floor and there on the floor. Then on this side we did a bunch of seedlings. There's sweet potatoes planted here. I just stuck old sweet potatoes we bought from the shops. I stuck them in the soil. These are all broccoli seeds. Suvi did these broccoli seeds. They were supposed to be spread nice and evenly. That didn't really happen. And yeah, we have a bunch of things coming out here. We put 6 or 7 different type varieties of vegetables here. I don't quite remember everything. We'll see as we come out. It's going to be a little bit of a surprise, which is nice. I know these are spinach, and we have some leeks coming out. These are gooseberries. There's 6 gooseberries, 3 on this side and then 3 on that side. And then here we got some more peppers. These are all peppers here, and then these are old peppers that we moved from that original Hugelculture. So that's basically the veggie gardens. And then over on this side put the other 4 or 5 of them. The idea is to move the chickens down that way to next to the avo tree there, and have this run extension of theirs come all the way from there right down to there's about 60 meters or so. So then they have a nice big area, and then hopefully expand on our chickens a bit as well and build them a better sleeping place. So that's the plan next year with the chickens. And then in terms of the fruit trees, we get down here. The idea was in the beginning we planted a bunch of individual fruit trees, like how these are over here, and now we're sitting at about 37 in total. If you're going to count like the banana trees, there's piles of like 3 in a section. And then now that these are planted, we try to sort of interconnect them, and slowly we turn it into a food forest, like this sort of an effect that we got going on here. So the plan is to then integrate the plants with each other, do companion planting, things that will help pollinate them, things that will help pest production. So on this side here we have a calamondin tree, I guess something sort of like a kumquat. I haven't tried them, but these are ripening nicely, so hopefully soon I get to try them, and that's growing well. We got catnip planted around there. There's marigolds sprouting out everywhere. There's asparagus there with some broad beans. We got lavenders here, purple capsicums, more marigolds sprouting out everywhere. That's a nice big gooseberry tree. We've already got a couple of gooseberries growing on there as well, which is quite nice. Then over here we got a Eureka lemon tree. with some basil planted around it. There is sacred basil. Here's another gooseberry tree. This one seems to be growing better. However, it hasn't really made any fruit yet, but it does seem to be growing faster. And then here we have some more chili trees. We have a couple more on that side there. And then these are sweet melon, that one and that one there, and this and that one there as well. We were literally eating sweet melon in the office, and we came and chucked the seeds in here, and now we have sweet melon. This one here is a pepino tree. We had 4 pepino melons on here that we ate last week, so now we're waiting. I'm not dead sure. Since we took the pepino melons off, the tree does look a little bit more sick, to be honest. So I'm waiting and watching. It's growing new leaves, but the current leaves look a little bit dismal. They were a lot more green and bushy before we picked the pepino, so I'm not sure what the problem is there. We'll have to keep an eye on that one. And then we have 2 pepperdew trees over this side, and strawberries planted. 4 strawberry bushes there planted around this mango tree. And the idea is for the strawberries to send out runners and the strawberries to create ground cover here, with marigolds creating ground cover and so on and so forth. And then we have another mango tree here with 3 more strawberry bushes around it. Then on this side here's an orange tree, and they're all sort of growing nicely. And moving on this way, this is a kumquat tree, and I've got some oregano planted around the kumquat tree that's also busy spreading quite nicely. I tried this one. You basically put a PVC pipe in at the bottom there with some rocks at the bottom, and the idea is that watering it through there encourages root growth going down. So we're going to see how that experiment goes. And then here we have a pomegranate tree 1, and there's pomegranate tree 2. This pomegranate tree has been pulled out by our husky 4 separate times, so its growth looks slightly different than the other ones. We're actually very surprised that this one ended up making it to this point, but she seems to have relinquished her interest in that. She's not there anymore. And then on this side here we have a naartjie tree, which was initially planted in the chicken coop. That was the first fruit tree I bought. That was an awful idea. I have now learned retrospectively. It's recovered nicely here, but it's still not doing fantastically well. The mint around it, however, is doing incredibly well, almost too well. I'm not sure if it's going to start killing out the plant or not. We got a couple of marigolds sprouting there as well that just sort of came out of nowhere. But in here you can see there's mint growing everywhere. It's coming out onto the grass here as well. But I guess the idea is eventually to have everything connected, so maybe I just leave it. That's a cherry tree. When we moved in, this was here. There is a water problem here, so every single time it rains, this cherry tree loses all of its fruit and all of its leaves because it drowns a little bit. So we're going to look at some point at just trying to backfill the soil over here, so hopefully we have a little bit more control over what's going on. And let's do this, that would be easier. There we go. So once we have a little bit more control over here, we can start planting things here and integrate this as part of everything. But at the moment the soil is soaked. There is so much water here everywhere, and the water sits, so not fantastic. The daisies that were here have died off as well. Then over here we have a West Indian lime tree with some more mint planted around it. We got some marigolds coming out there. There's some watermelons coming out here. It's either watermelon or sweet melon. I'm not dead sure. We've chucked a bunch of melon seeds everywhere. I'm not dead certain that everything's going to work together nicely, but as things don't work, I'm going to realize that they don't work, and then we can try again. This is a lychee tree. This lychee tree has been stagnant for a very long time, but I do see that there are some new little leaves coming out there, which is fantastic. I added chicken manure to it, so I think that gave it a little bit of a nutrient boost. Then we have our second lychee tree here, which has been planted a little bit low, sitting water again, which is a problem, but it hasn't seemed to mind it all that much, so I'm not sure. But I do think ideally I need to add a little bit more soil here so the drainage can improve, because I can't see that being good for the tree long term. And this is an apple guava hybrid tree. This was the first one we got. We initially planted them down at the bottom there, but our water table is incredibly high. It's very, very wet here. So when we planted them at the bottom there, that's close. There's a little river that runs down at the bottom there. So it's super wet down there. So a couple of these trees were planted down at the bottom there to start off with, and that just did not work out. And we found even after we moved them, they're taking very long to recover. So this is the first one. It has fruit on it, which is fantastic. There's one or two fruits down there. So this one's still growing nicely. We cut the top off the other day to try and encourage outwards growth as opposed to upwards growth, because it was growing very long and narrow, and since then it has seemed to sort of sprout outwards a little bit better. So at least that's a benefit. It hopefully worked what we were planning on doing. And then this is the newer one, but this when newer, it's a few months old already, but it's doing really, really well. We got blueberry shrub here. We had a blueberry shrub there, but it was accidentally cut down by a weed whacker, unfortunately. But this blueberry shrub here is doing quite nicely. It's growing very, very nicely, and we've got tons and tons of apple guavas on here. So they're all growing super nicely, and this one seems to grow out much better. I cut the top off of this way before the other one, and its growth improved drastically. So hopefully the other one can follow suit, but it just keeps, new leaves keep popping out, which is amazing. Here's, we got some banana trees. There's 4 sets of banana trees. They were slowly doing their thing. Then the other day I added chicken manure to it again, and suddenly they have taken off fantastically well. So I haven't given them all that much nutrients. Previously they were quite clustered together, so I tended to focus on the other trees, and the first time I gave these proper nutrients in the chicken manure, they have skyrocketed. This one at the back there, the leaves were this size with little holes in them and things along those lines, and now they're massively big leaves. So that's good. At least here is our mulberry tree. The mulberry tree used to be planted down there. There is not enough, there's way too much water there in any case, and this is sort of where we want to do the food forest area. So we ended up moving the mulberry tree down here, which was a very heavy thing. We dug it out and dragged it across the lawn, and since then it died off a little bit in a way. It lost basically all of its leaves. It definitely lost all of its fruits and dried out crazy. But since then, over the last probably about 3-4 months, it has slowly recovered, and now we've got some leaves again. We've got new little leaves coming out everywhere. I even saw on this side yesterday, we've got some mulberries coming out over there as well. So at least that's positive, but the hope isn't even for anything to make fruit at this point. I just want the tree to recover nicely. And then of course we have some more melon seeds there, whether that's watermelon or sweet melon, I'm not dead sure. More banana trees this side, and here's some banana trees as well. All of these banana trees have shot off after I gave them the chicken manure. They're growing a new leaf every 3 or 4 days. There's a big new leaf coming out, and the leaves are bigger and greener than they've ever been. Here's a whole cluster of them. There's 4 or 5 of them here, and it was like that. So the old owners of the house had planted down that side, again in way too much water. One was planted there, sort of in a dip over there, and they were here for a while without doing much. So we're going to see where it goes, but no hopes. And this one here as well, I think eventually they'll produce it, but if they were planted there for quite a while and then their growth was stunted every single time there was rain, then most probably they're going to struggle to grow big. I'm not sure. We're going to figure that one out as we go along. We're currently busy with a dam as well. So we had a big issue with our storm water. We live at the bottom of a big hill, so all of the water that comes down from the hill started creating crevices under the house and everything. So we put a collection area for it at the top there, and now we've dug this big trench all the way from the top there, going all the way down to the bottom there, and cemented out a bunch of the trench. We PVC piping in where we gonna have the chicken coop in the future. because I don't want the chickens to be where there's going to be open water flowing into a dam. And then down on this side, we've started digging the dam, but it has been a massive mission because the soil is so clay. But this is basically the dam at the moment. So we've got 3 boxes, a box here, a box there, and a box down at the bottom. And we just need to dig out these middle sections. It's all groundwater. You put 1 spade in the ground and it fills up immediately. The water table here is extraordinarily high. So the idea is to get the stormwater to wash down into the dam here, put some aquatic plants and things around here, put a nice little dam wall up. The water's flowing very nicely there. So the water is flowing nicely. The idea is working nicely. It just needs to be completely implemented. I've seen a lot of tadpoles in and around the area. I don't know if that's good or bad. I'm not certain. But I am hopeful that at some point when this dam is finished, it's going to be a treat to the property. And then we have a trench that is exiting the dam, an overflow that's exiting the dam. Water's running nicely here. And this is, the water pretty much constantly runs, but here's tadpole situations. Lots and lots and lots of tadpoles everywhere. And that goes down all the way through into the river down at the bottom. So that's the plan. We're still actively working on finishing this one. But yeah, and this is Roxy in a natural habitat, and there is the husky doing her thing. So yeah, this is where we're at the moment. We've been here for a year now. Yeah, we've been here for a year now, and substantial progress. When we purchased the property, then it was literally just open. So we've tried to make the space slightly more functional. Here we got our chickens. Hello, chickens. We got 12 laying hens and a rooster. The rooster's currently in the box. Oh, difficult to see at the moment. But yeah, so this is where we're at the moment. The next idea, as opposed to adding on to the fruit trees, is to start integrating the fruit trees between each other. We want to create pathways. So border out the fruit trees to create sort of pathways. I was on the roof the other day and I took a picture, and we've printed that out, and we were able to draw sort of how we want the pathways to look, and then dig it out, throw some nice compost, and start integrating the plants with each other. So that's, we've done 2 of the pathways now already, or the integration sections that I showed there, but in total we're looking at 25 of them. So there's still a little bit of work on that, a good few months work on that next year, but very, very excited. So I guess I'm going to take another video in like 6 months time, and we'll see what the changes is. I kind of wish I took these videos to start off with, so we could see how the changes have come along and how the things have grown, but I didn't. So no better time to start than now. Thanks.